Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we turn to Iraq's markets, where fear and uncertainty are spreading fast. Traders across Baghdad, Basra, and Erbil are sounding the alarm. The dinar is under heavy pressure, the dollar is surging, and inflation may soon spiral out of control. Over the past few weeks, Iraq's financial system has been shaken by sharp swings in the exchange rate. On the official side, the government insists the dinar remains stable. But in the parallel market, the black market where most everyday Iraqis actually get their dollars, the reality is very different. The dollar has been rising rapidly, hitting levels that not only alarm currency dealers but also threaten the wallets of ordinary families. And here's why that matters. Iraq depends on imports for nearly 90% of consumer goods, from food and medicine to clothing and electronics. When the dollar rises, import costs soar. Traders pass those costs on to shopkeepers, who in turn raise prices for ordinary Iraqis. It's a chain reaction, and right now, that reaction is moving dangerously fast. In Baghdad's Sharjah market, merchants are already warning that prices for flour, rice, and cooking oil could jump by as much as 15% in the coming weeks if the dollar surge continues. In Basra, shipping agents report delays and increased fees because suppliers are demanding payment upfront in dollars. And in Erbil, some wholesalers have started rationing goods, anticipating that the next shipment will cost significantly more. The panic is not just about today's rates. It's about tomorrow. Traders warn that if the central bank fails to act, Iraq could see a wave of import-driven inflation that hits households hard. Families who already struggle with rising fuel and rent costs may soon find basic groceries slipping further out of reach. At the heart of the crisis is a question of confidence. Do Iraqis still believe their government can defend the dinar? Or are they preparing for yet another cycle of dollar dominance and dinar weakness? The answer will determine whether this panic turns into a full-blown inflation spiral. But let's go deeper, because behind the market panic lies a complex story of politics, policy, and pressure from abroad. The US dollar is not just a currency in Iraq. It's a weapon, a tool, and a lifeline all at once. Washington's restrictions on Iraqi banks, smuggling networks moving dollars across borders, and the central bank's struggle to balance reforms with reality all play into why the dinar is under attack today.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's continue. The panic on Iraq's markets is not just a momentary reaction. It's part of a larger cycle that keeps repeating itself whenever the dollar surges against the dinar. And the warnings from traders are clear. If something isn't done soon, Iraq may face an inflationary wave that will hit every home, every shop, and every paycheck. Let's begin with food prices, because that is where inflation always hurts the most. Iraq imports wheat from Russia, rice from India, sugar from Brazil, and cooking oil from Turkey. When the dollar rises against the dinar, importers must spend more to bring in the same goods. A shipment of wheat that once cost 140 million dinars might suddenly cost 155 million dinars, or more simply, because the dollar's exchange rate went up. That extra cost is passed to the baker, then to the grocery store, and finally, to the family buying bread. It's a chain reaction that leaves the average household with less food on the table. The same story is true for fuel. While Iraq is an oil-rich country, it still imports refined products like gasoline and diesel in large quantities. And those imports are dollar-priced. Traders in Basra are already warning that a stronger dollar could push fuel prices higher, forcing transportation companies to raise fares. That means taxi rides, bus tickets, and even the cost of delivering goods will become more expensive. In turn, every product moved across Iraq's roads will cost more at the market. Housing is another critical area. Many construction materials, cement, steel, wood, and electrical equipment are imported. Contractors are warning that ongoing projects may stall or become more costly as suppliers demand higher payments in dollars. For young Iraqis already struggling to afford rent or buy homes, this inflationary pressure could make housing even more out of reach. Now, what about the Central Bank of Iraq, CBI? What can it actually do in response to this market panic? The most obvious tool is to increase the supply of dollars through official auctions, flooding the market with greenbacks to pull down the black market rate. But this solution is temporary, and it drains Iraq's dollar reserves, which are tied to oil revenues. The second tool is to tighten restrictions on smuggling and money laundering, making sure that dollars sold for legitimate imports don't end up flowing into neighboring countries. That, however, requires political will and enforcement, and Iraq's borders remain porous. The third tool, and perhaps the most controversial, is to revalue or strengthen the dinar itself. This is the dream of many Iraqis, to see their currency regain real power. But such a move requires deep structural reforms, not just announcements. For now, the central bank is caught between defending the dinar and preserving dollar reserves, a balancing act that grows harder every time traders panic. And this brings us to the black market, which has become the true heartbeat of Iraq's currency crisis. While the official rate may sit at 1,320 dinars per dollar, the black market rate often runs much higher, sometimes exceeding 144,000 dinars per $100. For everyday Iraqis, the black market is the reality, because that's where they get dollars for travel, trade, or even savings. As long as the black market rate runs ahead of the official one, inflationary pressure will remain. Traders will price goods at black market levels, not official rates. And citizens will lose faith in the government's promises of stability. So where does this leave Iraq? The warnings of traders paint a grim picture. If inflation spikes, Iraqis will feel it first in their kitchens, then in their fuel tanks, and finally in their rent payments. Panic could spread quickly, pushing more people to hoard dollars and abandon the dinar, creating a self-fulfilling cycle of weakness. But there is also opportunity in crisis. If the government uses this moment to crack down on smuggling, expand digital payments, and restore confidence in the banking sector, Iraq could turn panic into reform. If not, the dollar's grip will only tighten, leaving the dinar weaker and Iraqis poorer. So the question remains, will Iraq's leaders act boldly to calm the markets and protect their people, or will the warnings of traders become a painful reality on the streets of Baghdad, Basra, and beyond? For now, one thing is certain. The dollar surge is more than just numbers on an exchange board. It's the beginning of another fight over Iraq's financial future. And the outcome will affect every Iraqi family.